And as I've moved through this healing journey, healing of old wounds, shifting of old patterns, I'm recognizing how often the lack of boundaries has just increased my anxiety, has left me feeling sad and lonely and unseen. And that when I don't hold true to the boundaries around my own needs, I'm telling myself I don't matter. I'm saying to me, my needs don't matter. And that makes me feel bad and uncomfortable and anxious and stressed. And I don't want to tell myself that anymore. I don't want that to be the message that I'm giving to myself because that's not true. I care about me and want to take care of me. And I'm working on healthier boundaries every day.
Welcome to the Woman Worriers podcast. You worry, I worry, we all do. If you're paying attention to the world today, there's a lot for women to feel worried and anxious about. As we explore the worries with curiosity and compassion, we learn to live more authentically and unleash the warrior within, someone who is strong, capable, and resilient, come what may. It's time to stop battling against yourself and start using your powers to meet everyday challenges with energy, purpose, and bravery. Now here's your host, Elizabeth Cush.
Today's episode is brought to you by 3 Invitations to Come Home to You. If you'd like to learn how to feel more at home in yourself, you can sign up for your free invitations at elizabethcushcoaching.com. Hi, and welcome back to the Woman Worriers podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Cush, and better known as Biz. And I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, licensed in Maryland right now, hoping to expand my licensure through Delaware, maybe Washington, D.C., although their licensing requirements are a little more difficult and stringent. I'm also a life coach for women, and today I'm going to be talking about healthy boundary setting, one of the tenets of my coaching business. But before we get started, I just wanted to say that the podcast is shifting. The energy is shifting. My need for the podcast to be a little different is really coming forth. And it's not going to be a drastic shift. We're not going to suddenly be talking about men's issues or something like that. It's not that at all. It's just feels important to step away from focusing on anxiety and into focusing on how to live your best life, how to live your most authentic life, how to awaken that wise woman within you. Because we all have her. We all have her inside of us. But we don't always know how to bring her forth. And stepping into that wise woman who also embraces her princess self and her queen self as well. She's an amazing part of you that longs to show up. And so the podcast will get a new name that I'm working on, and we will be focusing on how you can live your best life and feel most at home in yourself. You can follow the progress on Instagram at Woman Worriers right now, which will shift along with the podcast. And you can also sign up for my newsletter. So if you go to elizabethcushcoaching.com, there is a form to fill out at the bottom of the homepage and sign up there. And when you sign up, you get your 3 gifts. You get your 3 invitations to come home to yourself. And that's a bonus. Very exciting. So you can get those there. So boundaries. We hear a lot about boundaries, don't we? I do. I know in my therapy practice, it's a theme that comes up for a lot of women because we're not really taught how to be comfortable with setting healthy boundaries. We're often told that we're being selfish or bitchy or hard-nosed if we are holding firm to boundaries, even softer boundaries. I think we are so socialized to be thinking about other people's needs, taking care of other people, and being feminine and kind that we think we don't deserve or shouldn't have boundaries that keep us safe. And it's taken me a long time to recognize how important those boundaries are and how subtle a boundary can be. It doesn't have to be a big no. It doesn't have to be a conflict. It can just be more an expression of yourself. As I shared in the last episode around taking care of yourself, I was the third child of 4 in my family, and I had an older sister and an older brother. My older brother was tough sometimes on my parents. He pushed back on a lot of the rules. And I think being the firstborn to young parents, the guidance there to help him be his best self wasn't always there. And so a lot of attention went to him. A lot of attention went to my older sister. Being the first girl, my mom and she had a very different bond than my mom and myself. And that was hard for me some of the time. I didn't know where I fit in. It wasn't clear to me how to take care of myself. My parents were very independent, and our family really wasn't a place to share emotional stuff. Because if you did, you were felt like more that like you were the problem or the issue. And so it was a hard place to learn how to set healthy boundaries when I wasn't seeing healthy boundaries set for me or in other relationships in my young life. And I saw my mom really prioritizing everybody else. The kids, my dad. And it took her quite some time before she began to really speak up for herself. But those early memories were of her doing for others and maybe not saying no as well as she could have. And that was the model that was set for me. And there was really very little conflict in my family life, which is interesting because my parents ended up divorcing, as I mentioned in the last episode, and it shattered me. Like it totally left me feeling upended because there wasn't fighting. I did not witness parents screaming or yelling at each other or unhappiness. Yeah, sure. There was conflict, some, but it was more passively expressed. And so conflict for me today still is super hard. And when we talk about boundaries, sometimes there's conflict there, right? Sometimes we're saying no to something that someone wants us to do. And that can create conflict sometimes. And being able to set healthy boundaries means we are able to assert what we need. We're able to say, I don't want to do it that way. I'd rather do it this way. Or no, I don't want to do that at all. Or yes, I'd like to do that, but can we explore it in a different way? It can even be, I don't like how you treat me. It can be, my feelings get hurt when you say X, Y, or Z because it makes me think you don't love me. That's setting a boundary. That is saying, this is how I'm feeling, and I need you to hear me. And that's a boundary too. So the reason I share the early stories is because it really set the stage for me and relationships. It set the stage for the patterns of behavior that have continued throughout the years. This fear of hurting others, the fear of conflict, and feeling as if there was not space for me to express myself. It felt easier, safer for me to be quiet, to hold my feelings within instead of sharing them. And I truly believe that is where most of my anxiety bubbles from. This sense of there isn't space for me in my relationships. And as I've moved through this healing journey, healing of old wounds, shifting of old patterns, I'm recognizing how often the lack of boundaries has just increased my anxiety, has left me feeling sad and lonely and unseen. And that when I don't hold true to the boundaries around my own needs, I'm telling myself I don't matter. I'm saying to me, my needs don't matter. And that makes me feel bad and uncomfortable and anxious and stressed. And I don't want to tell myself that anymore. I don't want that to be the message that I'm giving to myself because that's not true. I care about me and want to take care of me, and I'm working on healthier boundaries every day. And I think one of the hardest parts of setting firm boundaries and really, truly speaking up for myself is anger. And I know I've shared that here on the podcast before, and I am committed that this year will be the year of anger expression. Not uncontrolled anger expression, but just fierce, compassionate defense and advocacy and speaking up. And I share my story with boundaries and anger and self-expression because I know how hard it can be. And I know that it can shift, that it can create space within you to feel like yourself, to feel authentic, to feel truly you. And so I would love to work with you if you struggle with boundary setting, if you feel your boundaries are ignored or that you're not even sure what healthy boundaries for you look like. Because sometimes there are people in our life that we can set those boundaries with. Sometimes there are people that it's easier to say no. And so we'll look at that. Like, what makes it easier? Typically, the people we care about most, those are the hardest boundaries. So we're going to explore, how do we express ourselves and still feel safe within those relationships? We'll also look at what it feels like when you're not holding firm, holding true to you, and how it impacts you when those people in your life who continuously cross your boundaries and don't respect you as a person, or don't see you as your true self, because that hurts, right? But we also want to explore what shows up around, what are those parts that say it's better to not speak up, it's better to stay quiet. The fear around fully expressing ourselves. Because oftentimes there's guilt and there's shame, and both of those keep us quiet. So we can explore the roots of that guilt and shame and the messages that you tell yourself around what it means to be fully present and assertive and speaking up for yourself. And we can explore the practices that work for you daily to help you on a path to create the healthy boundaries that work for you. Because that's the key with coaching. You have it within you. You have the strengths. You have the abilities. You have that wise woman within you who knows what she needs. But we just have to tap into her energy. We have to get to know her better so that she feels more comfortable showing up more often. I want to take a moment and ask you to just imagine or envision your life, your relationships where you matter. Your needs matter. You feel comfortable expressing yourself. You feel comfortable fully showing up, even when it feels uncomfortable. You know how to take care of yourself. Feels pretty great, right? Well, I would love to be a partner on this journey. I would love to walk with you through all of it and help you find your way home to yourself. If this feels like a journey you're ready to take, you can book a free 30-minute discovery call with me to explore how coaching might best help you. I'd be honored to work with you on this journey of boundary setting, taking care of yourself, and living your life more authentically, more genuinely, fully expressed, and feeling truly at home in yourself. I look forward to the next few episodes as we move forward. The podcast will be taking a break over the summer. It'll give you an opportunity to go through some of the old episodes, but we have a few more coming up through June and July. I think a little bit into July, and then we're going to take a break. But I'm excited about the next couple of interviews that are coming up. We got some really great people and some fun topics to explore. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope you take some time to envision your life where your boundaries mattered, where you knew what you needed and could express that with the people that you love and who you are in relationship with. Have a wonderful week. Ciao for now from this Woman Worrier. This week's episode is brought to you by 3 invitations to come home to you. We all have different parts or voices we hear that can influence how we act, how we feel, and how we engage with the world. When we can get curious and learn more about all of our parts with compassion, we begin to feel more at home in ourselves. I'd like to invite you to explore some of your parts with the 3 invitations to come home to you. When you sign up, you'll gain access to the prompts that will be your guide to help you get to know you and your parts a little bit better. To get access to your prompts and find out more about working one-on-one with me, go to elizabethcushcoaching.com.